Peace, and welcome to season 2 of the Grown Man Shift podcast. I'm your host, Baif Nuruddin, and thank you. A resounding thank you, a resounding extension of gratitude to everybody who participated in season 1, the journey to season 1, getting to a place where now I have more of I know what I want to do. It's not that I didn't know what I wanted to do with season 1, but immersing myself into a space, right? A community of men. There's no shortage of men's groups, men's meetups, men podcasts. There's no shortage of it. And although there's no shortage of it, I'm just tapping into where I'm at geographically, where I'm at relationally, where I'm at just in my sphere of influence, fostering and having connection with people who want to foster these type of conversations, right? Because the shift is real. It really is. At some point in all of our lives, there's a distinct point where it's like, I made the choice, and then once I made the choice, I felt it out, I made the decision, and now I'm at where I'm at, right? There's no other way to experience it but other than to experience it. And it's been a hell of a journey. It's been a hell of a journey to go from, I don't really know, to, yeah, that's what I want right there. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to just kind of going with it. Going with the whatever way the wind is blowing in my life. I'm just going, and there's no direction. Now, it's different if I'm using the way that the wind blows in my life as a calculated, at this point, I'm going to utilize the wind that's blowing in this direction to go there. At this point, I'm going to use the wind that's blowing in that direction to go there. It feels better. It feels less jumbled up. It feels less restrictive because there's freedom in discipline. There's freedom in direction. There's freedom in figuring out a path that just makes your heart sing. And at this point in my life, I'm finding a lot of things that's making my heart sing, and sharing this space is one of them. Sharing this space, although the task is still daunting in terms of I'm shooting, editing, scheduling, so forth and so on, right? At some point, I won't be a one-man band. At some point. It's not that point today. But I'm working on it, right? So what inspired the episode today, of course, I was gallivanting in the hallways of Instagram, and I came across a post, and it lit a fire, right? Or at least it lit a fire in the space of my thought. Like, here's what it was. We say we value honesty, yet we reward people who pretend. We praise individuality, yet push everyone to fit in. We teach critical thinking, but grade compliance. And if that doesn't encapsulate like the spirit of why the Grown Man Shift even exists, I don't know what else can or will, right? For instance, we say we value honesty, yet we reward people who pretend. And not proud at all, but admittedly, there's been points in my life in the journey where I wasn't fully myself. I wasn't fully expressive. I wasn't fully in a space where my feet are just comfortable where they are and this is what you got, right? Haven't always been there. And starting this podcast was like me through a series of life, having the realization that, yo, you are not that guy. The story that you've been feeding yourself, you're not that guy. So there's no need to pretend like you are not that guy. Like the lesser guy that I'm telling myself and feeling like this is who I am. This is me, right? Little old Baith, Nuruddin, this is him. And it's okay to be him because, you know, everybody don't have to be big. You can be small too, right? But then realizing like, nah, bro, you really are, you're way bigger than this. And it's okay to be bigger than this. You don't have to pretend that you're not bigger than this. Now, of course, there's the second part of this Instagram realization, right? We praise individuality, yet push everyone to fit in. The small is just, I just want to fit in. I just want to fit in. I don't want to cause no problems. I don't want to cause no waves. I don't want to have to disagree with anybody. I just want to be cool Switzerland. Small Switzerland, right? But I'm not choosing to be small out of capacity. I'm not choosing to be small out of the amount of space that I really can take up. I'm choosing to be small because I don't want to be seen. Because then when you're seen, people pay attention. And when people pay attention, people have opinions. And then when people have opinions, depending on who that person is, the opinion does whatever it does. And then it feels like you being a targeted attack, right? It feels like at some point there's a 300-pound elephant that's about to come out the corner of the room at any second and say, hey guys, remember me? Because people do that, especially being in a position where people can see you. There's a lot of back in the days and day ones and people that may have the inclination to be like, well, I remember when, right? It's not my journey, but that was the fear that I had before I embarked on this journey, that the individual Baith is not worth, there's no value there, right? No value past this story that I've just been quietly teeing my life up to for this entire time, right? So I'm just at a point where there's no need to quietly move through life. It doesn't help anybody. If anything, it hurts everybody because there's a certain level of genius that we all bring to the table, right? If life is just this one big tapestry, all of us have a particular type of string that we weave into it. And without us weaving into it, the tapestry is not complete. Or at least it's not the full picture. It's not as awesome or dynamic as it can be. Just because there's a certain part of us that's not really allowing, this is the thread I have. And with this thread, I'm going to create something that I feel like is beautiful, that's valuable, right? So I'm just reinvigorated with what is happening, right? It's 2026. I have so many things on the horizon. And as I get the boat closer to the dock, I will start bringing everybody into it. But what I can say is there's a new studio on the horizon. What I can say, there is a lot of community outreach on the horizon. What I can say, there's a lot of things on the horizon that wouldn't necessarily be on the horizon if I didn't just sit back and say, what can I do in this space called life that will add value? Not from a so we can all level up and get the bag per se. That's a part of it, right? But how can we connect? How can we honestly, authentically connect? Genuinely connect. Realistically connect. Because the truth is, there's no shortage of opportunity or money or resources or whatever the case is if we're all connected, right? Connected from a place of, I'm not competing. I just want to compliment. I don't want to compete. I just want to collaborate. I don't want to compete. But in the midst of all of this stuff, if my iron needs some sharpening, then I need to get around some sharp iron in order for me to execute. It's okay. Because a lot of times we are better together than we are apart. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of work that individually we're the only ones that can do that. We're the only people that can do the work that needs to be done on an individual basis. But as far as being able to take that work that we're doing and be able to collab with somebody, connect with somebody, and then it's a nice synchronistic dance that happens in the process. Kind of feel like one hand wash the other, both hands wash the face, if that makes sense, right? I could do a lot washing my face with the one hand. I could do a lot, right? But I could do way more. I could do way more having a helpmate, having a partner, having a space that when I enter into the room, there's a connection that happens that just amplifies whatever's going on, right? The spirit of change and it's amplified. The spirit of forward motion and it's amplified. The spirit of innovation and future thoughts and collaborative spirit and all of that stuff gets amplified. Not from a place of ego, not from a place of being the one, but being in a place where the one is the two, is the three, is the four, right? It's just more energy, there's more space, there's more capacity. So I'm excited to embark in a space where I'm allowing whatever it is that I'm bringing to the table to be of use to other people. Not feeling like I got to hoard the energy because I got to protect my energy because you know how people be and people will stab you in the back and niggas ain't shit and blah, blah, blah. And whatever the case is, it's like, okay, and. There are so many people that are not like that. So why continue to hold up the lie when there's a lot of truth to support the opposite, right? Going back to what was the spark. The spark was, man, as a man, I'm changing. And as I'm going through these changes, I just so happen to be having conversations with other men who are also experiencing change. And the experiencing of their change and my change, although slightly different in the fullness of detail, right? But there's a lot of similarities. And in those similarities, the beauty is connection happens. In those similarities, the beauty is there's a certain level of I see you, you see me, right? The flip side is the difference is it's such a welcoming perspective because I never knew. I never knew you could feel like this and feel like this, right? In the last 10 years, being able to articulate, like, look, two things can be true at the same time. For a long time, it was just, it's one or the other. Point blank, period. That's just what it is. That's how life is. That's how we all inherited it. One thing or the other. And the truth is, there are multiple truths at the same time, right? There's the universal truth. There's the spiritual truth. There's the everything else in between, right? But in this space of like, what do I want for myself? It's clear that a shift needs to happen in order for me to ascertain that. A shift needs to happen in order for me to be able to gravitate toward it a certain kind of way, to be able to embody it a certain kind of way, to be able to not just embody it in my personal practices with myself, but be able to have such an abundant grasp on it. It has no choice but to find itself in the other ways of my life. It has no choice. This refining that's been happening over time, it's a necessary part of the process. There's no way that I can be the same and expect to experience different plateaus in my life, right? There's no way. There's no way. So why pretend? Why pretend that what everybody else thinks is law in my life or in your life? Why pretend? Why pretend that everybody else has it figured out except for us? Why pretend? Why pretend that figuring it out is a lifelong journey? It's a lifelong journey. There's none of us that's going to reach a point where we just got it all and there's nothing else to be done. I don't have to add any more reframing. I don't have to condition the muscles in order to stay strengthened in none of the. Because every day we wake up, regardless of what, we're not living in the same time. Like it's not continuously the same time. There's an evolution. We're a different age. We're in different social circles. We're at a different job. We're in a different financial status. We are in a different spiritual place. All of those things have an effect on where our feet are planted in that moment. So if we're deciding not to change, if we're deciding not to shift, if we're deciding not to look at it and say, you know what, it might be a little bit different if I switch it up, I feel like that's how it goes wrong. And not wrong in the sense of like there's a right way to do life and a wrong way to do life. I'm saying as individuals, us not paying attention to how the shifts are happening in our lives and moving accordingly, there's a certain level of detriment that comes with it. There's a certain level of detriment. I'm at the point in my life where working out every day is just a part of it. It's a part of it. And I don't mean being in the gym and throwing up 700 pounds of weight and rah, rah, rah. No, but actively moving my body by choice and not by circumstance. Move my body because it is the correct action as an individual in order to strengthen my process, to have more mental fortitude when it comes to going through the ebbs and flows of what I'm building, when it comes to having a lot more resolve when I feel stress and anxiety and helplessness and defensiveness and all of those things that comes into the play with building something, that I have a little bit more resilience for it. So paying attention to the shifts, paying attention to how all of this stuff is just doing what it does, it's allowing me to just not feel like I'm behind, not feel like there's something that I just haven't quite figured out yet, as if there's a rush to figure it out. It's going to happen in the time it's going to happen. And as long as everything that I'm doing is lined up to the habits that make the thing possible eventually, then eventually it's going to come. I don't have to fret over if eventually I will be in a position that I'm working toward every day. I don't have to worry. I can use that mental energy to actually add to making sure that I get there. Making sure that when I get there on solid ground. Make sure that when I get there, that I get there in a way that the value of it is just undeniable. Not just for self, but all the people that's connected to self, right? So, third part, because I'll go down. We teach critical thinking, but grade compliance. And I couldn't agree with that more, right? The phrase that chaps my ass a little bit, grinds my gears, is it should be common sense. How? Because what's common to you may not be common to me, especially if we grew up in two totally different parts of the world. We grew up with two totally different upbringings. Now there's the generality as a inner city black kid. We all have a certain cadence that is similar, right? But the actual dynamic of the family environment is not the same. It's not the same, right? We both could have got the same kind of discipline in terms of like corporal punishment. I got my ass whooped, you got your ass whooped, right? But my dad wasn't a drunk. Maybe your dad was. My mom wasn't a drunk, or maybe your mom was. Get what I'm saying? My parents had a different type of addiction, and it allowed them to be the type of parents that they were. So although there's a certain general space that I feel like a lot of us have in common, the specificity changes everything. So I can't feel like I am the one that has the perspective on everything, because I don't. I'm not you, you're not me, right? And empathy and compassion and fairness, I should always have the capacity to give other people the space for their lived experience. Because that's what I want for me. I want space for my lived experience. It's not to say that my space, my lived experience is the end all be all. It is not a beacon to look toward, or is it a disdain to run away from? It's not. It's not. But it is my truth. It is the truth of who I am and the journey that I've traveled. And it's the same for you. The truth of who you are and the journey you travel is your lived experience. And I think a lot of times going along to get along takes the critical thinking out of it. I don't want to hear what you think. Just do this. Which a lot of parents have said that. I don't care what you think. You're going to do what the fuck I said. That's a same thing when you go to school. You go to school, I don't care what you think. The answer is right here on the board. The answer is in your book. I know that answer is diametrically opposed to some of the values that you may believe, but the text is the text and it said what it said. So that's what I want you to say. And going through this process of just my own level of freedom, my own level of, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. And I can't say that I've always had that innate feeling, but I can say that I questioned a lot of stuff growing up. I did. Not to be rebellious. I didn't even have a notion of being rebellious in terms of like, I'm only doing this for the opposition. I'm specifically saying this for the opposition. I'm specifically doing this for the opposition. It's never been a conscious thought in the younger part of my years. Now it's a little bit because I'm I'm engaging in dialogue. So the point of some of the things that I say is to engage in dialogue. Period. It's not to one up or, I'm an expert authority. It's none of that. It's none of that. It's strictly to say, I'm thinking about this thing this way. What you think about? You know what I'm saying? How do you think about? When it comes to the stuff you think about, what do you weigh in those decisions? What do you weigh into that frame of thought? Period. Outside of that, it's just been a conscious, unconscious points in my life where that didn't really, I thought about it, and then thinking about it, I thought about it different. And thinking about it made me think about something else. That now that I'm thinking about this and this, it's making me think about this other thing that don't totally make sense. It doesn't really jive with the way my brain calculates whatever it calculates. So there's a healthy respect that I have for this place of like, question all of it. Question all of it. Because if you are in a situation or environment where people aren't allowing you to think freely, to allowing you to question, allowing you to be curious, allowing you to be inquisitive, run. Or at least plant your feet where they are. And if there's no amicable way to have a discussion or amicable way to display the viewpoints without it being any malice or any negative energy or bullshit attached to it, is like, why do I have to do what you saying I should do if while I'm doing this thing, I recognize that there's a whole nother way to do it? Not in spite of, but in collaboration with. I'll say it again. Why should I have to do what you saying I have to do, the way you're saying I have to do it, if I've identified a different way to do it that may be a little bit more efficient, it may be a little less, it may be cost prohibitive, right? It might not cost shit. So this way that I'm thinking about doing this thing that I'm doing, if I can't even ask you if it's okay to implement, there's a problem. And that's what I'm saying. I can't even ask. I ain't even talking about doing nothing yet. I'm saying I don't even have the space to ask if this, what I'm thinking, is possible. There's a problem. And I feel like a lot of how we were, I'll speak for myself. A lot of the viewpoints that and perspectives that I've witnessed, experienced, and adhered, is it adhered? That I adhered to, right? I think with the proper guise of being able to be inquisitive, it may have shortened the distance on certain things, certain parts of my journey. It may have given more clarity in certain parts of my journey. It may have given me a lot more wisdom and staying power in different parts of my journey, right? Because I have a certain context that allows me to exercise my curiosity. And I feel like in a lot of regards, a lot of respects, a lot of us have that taken away from us in a different spaces, right? In your familiar space, your cousins are a certain way, and because your cousins are a certain way and you're not, your parents have a certain level of an unrealistic expectation for you to be like your cousins, right? Or your friends at school, and because you don't dress a certain way, or because you don't have certain things, or because your family dynamic is whatever way it is, there's a certain level of, well, since you ain't like this, then you ain't really valuable. You don't really belong. You don't belong. Now, it's okay to not belong. Every space and every place is not for everybody. It just is what it is. It's the truth. I have no business trying to get into the KKK. It's not a space for me. No matter how much I may have a weird desire to be a part of that organization. And it's an extreme example. But I feel like the extremity of the example is, it really demonstrates the point. A lot of times we're trying to fit our square personality into a rectangle space. And it doesn't fit. And that's okay. I want to go where the squares are. Metaphorically and actually. I want to go where the squares are. Because I feel like when it comes to the way society is, you have to kind of be a square in order to invoke a certain level of change. And I don't mean square as like, not tough or not resilient or not able to get the thing done, but who comes at it from an objective perspective, who comes at it from a place of like, I know I'm not a know-it-all. What you think? What you think? What you think? What you think? What we got going on here? How do you feel like we could do this? How do you feel like, ooh, I like that part of that. Ooh, I like that part of that. Oh, y'all like this part of that? Cool. And we all put it together, and now we have our marching orders. I'd much rather have that than just do what I say. Because I said it. Why? Because you said it. What makes you the authority? What makes you the authority that says, do it this way? I don't have time for questions or you being inquisitive. I don't have time for that. What I have time for you is complying. Nah, I'm cool. I remember one time, right? I was working for a uniform company as a route driver. And the account that I was the manager for, it was a $1.4 or $5 million revenue generating account. And management wasn't particularly happy at the fact that I didn't look at myself or regard my position as just a route driver. Because the truth is, if I'm the only person that's handling the calls, making sure that this account has everything that they need, it's not just one building. We're talking about 10 or 12 different buildings in 10 or 12 different cities in the state of New Jersey. And if I have to deal with the influx of negative, if I have to be the one to go out and remedy some of the issues, then I'm an account manager. Like, you're not about to just treat me like this, and because I'm an account manager and I know this, I'm trying to get paid this. This is what I feel like this is worth. And I remember having an entire back and forth with one of my supervisors at the time because he didn't agree. He felt like I should be just following orders as opposed to having questions to ask and rocking the boat. I got questions. So why am I getting paid this if this account generates this? And if this account is generating this, why aren't I getting a percentage of that? Especially considering boop, 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 boop. I'm adding, you get what I'm saying? I'm adding value. Because I said so. Because I'm the manager and I said so. As if that is just okay. Nah, I don't need to question why. I don't need to question you, the manager. You said it. I should just go with it. Nah. Because I got a family to feed and I got bills. And I'm not a 19-year-old kid that's just getting his first job. I'm a critical thinker in a job that a critical thinker would be best suited for. So if you got the right person for the job and I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing above and beyond, why can't we have this level of conversation? Needless to say, me and that supervisor didn't quite get along because it wasn't the first time either. We had static another time, and the whole back and forth was because I'm the manager and I say so, and it just never sat with me, like ever. Ever. I will never be at a job and say I have a boss. Never. It's not a title. There's no title at no job that says boss with a job description. There is none. So you're not my boss. You're my supervisor. You're the team lead. You're the captain. You're the chief. You're the whatever you are, right? But you're not the boss. So I get the fuck up out of here ASAP, right? Because a non-collaborative environment don't work for nobody. It don't work for nobody. For a dictator, it works because the dictator gets to have the dictator's way, right? But in a collaborative environment, everybody's position is weighed into the direction. It's like, oh, such and such, such and such, such and such. Oh, we probably should consider such and such, such and such, such and such. And since we considered such and such and this and that and a third, then there's a more high likelihood that whatever the goal is we want to accomplish, we can get there. We can get there. But if you're in a position where you don't want nobody to think for themselves and you don't want nobody to have an insight that you don't have, what are we doing it for? There's a lot of things that you could do by yourself that doesn't require any interaction. Like with people to tell what to do or for people to rely on you to tell what to do. There's a lot of stuff you could do that you could do like alone, like without nobody. You know what I'm saying? And if you're choosing to be in spaces with people, having a collaborative spirit just does everybody better. Now, sometimes you do have, this is the direction and it is what it is, and I can't really take no shorts because in order to get to the goal, this path that has been identified has been, the things that has been weighed into it, it's not really up for debate. It's not. Because I'm marching with all of that inside of this. However, everybody don't really adhere to it the same way. And that's okay too. I know I went off on a little dip, but just saying, not having a spirit of like, tell me more about that. As opposed to, I don't even want to hear that shit. What are we doing? Like, what are we doing? Why do anything with anybody if you don't want to hear what they got to say? Why? So I'm enjoying what season 2 is shaping up to. And not just season 2 of the podcast, but like season 2 of my life, my personal life. Being a lot more grounded in process. Because I'll be honest, doing this shit without a plan, doing this shit without a blueprint, doing this shit without a framework, it's tough. So I'm not doing it no more. I'm not doing it no more. I'm not doing it no more. I'd rather build it because I want to build it than to just whatever comes with it, comes with it. Now, that's true too. Yeah, whatever comes with it, comes with it. But it comes with it something that I built and put into place as far as a direction. So are there going to be ebbs and flows in that? Yeah, of course. I'd be insane to not expect ebbs and flows in that, right? Like right now. I'm in one right now. Actually 3, but I'll spare you the details, right? But like, it's just a certain it's like a pool. It's a pool. It's a invigorating part of my day to think about this and what I'm doing, and as a result of this, what I'm able to do outside of this. It's invigorating as fuck. And I don't think I would have gotten here if I was closed-minded, if I just put myself in a place where I'm going to just go along to get along. I don't want to cause no waves, like how I've been. I like it here. I do. So I've been rocking for a good amount. Hopefully it wasn't all. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? So with that said, I'm going to land the plane. And I just wanted to hop on for the 2026 season 2 of the Grown Man Shift to just, tap in. Tap in, nothing crazy, nothing. Just a lot is in store for season 2. And like I was saying, just in my life and with the podcast. And I'm enjoying it. So again, I appreciate you. This is the Grown Man Shift Podcast. I'm your host, Baith Noreddin. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Hit up the email, grownmanshitpodcast@gmail.com. The number will be dropping in the next 2 or 3 episodes. I'll be doing a lot more engaging on Instagram and TikTok with what I call the Shift Report. It's in conjunction with Happy Another Day Above Ground. If anybody follow me or have been following me for a while, you know what that is. And yeah, man, I wish I could say I'm a show better than I could say. And as the weeks come by, you'll see more. So I'm going to leave it at that before I tell them myself. I appreciate y'all so much, man. I appreciate y'all so much, so much, man, because it's all about collaboration. So, yeah, man. Peace.